Alright guys, and welcome to the stream once again, guys. We are talking about Kiev and of course what is going on in Russia and in Ukraine. Welcome everybody, welcome everybody into the stream. Of course, we're getting ready to really jump into a crazy discussion about central Kiev and all the recent progressions that have been happening. In addition to that, we're going to go over some of the breaking news that has officially been sent to us, and it is going to be quite a crazy live stream. So I want to start off by telling you guys, get ready for a crazy live stream. And of course, there's going to be a bunch of debates, discussions, etc. Now, of course, we want to start off by some of the latest news, and that is that there has been quite a decent increase in Putin-Zelensky dialogue, actually. And of course, a lot of these have become been done because a lot of people want, or in this case Zelensky and Putin both want to go ahead and get refugees out. Putin, okay, of course, they want it for different reasons. Putin wants it for, being able to have a clear access to, when attacking the Ukrainian resistance. And Zelensky wants it to try and avoid casualties. There's also been news, and again, this is unconfirmed, that Zelensky might step down as part of an exchange with Moscow to step down as president of Ukraine in exchange for a stop to the war. And that would mean basically he isn't president anymore, or he isn't president of Ukraine anymore. That presidential seat is given to Ukraine, is given to Russia, and Russia kind of gets to decide who's going to be president of Ukraine, but that's going to stop the war. So there's been unconfirmed reports that, Zelensky might step down as president of Ukraine in exchange for a peace process between both Russia and Ukraine, and that means stopping the war. Now, on top of that, there's also been developments within regards to a port city, Metropole. Ukraine's port city under siege now for a couple days, and there's been over 1,500 casualties. And the reason to that is because there's been an increase in contaminated waters. There is no water cleaning facility as of now. There's no food that enters Metropole, no water, no electricity. All of that has been impacted by the siege. Russia has sieged Metropole through water, land, and sea. And again, guys, going over the breaking news as of now, there is unconfirmed reports that President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, may step down in exchange for a peace deal with Russia to stop the war on Ukraine. And we'll have more of that later as we get our colleague on the line, and he really goes through that as well. But again, breaking news, President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, might step down as president in exchange for a peace deal with Russia to stop the war. And again, this is only going to increase as, Russia starts to hit more and more civilian facilities, giving casualties. We've seen a hospital targeted earlier today. A hospital targeted earlier today that was completely destroyed by Russian forces in Ukrainian city. Kharkiv has been a hotspot right now for shelling by Russian troops. They're already regrouping on there. And again, these are all sources that we have on the ground, local and international news. We're giving it to you guys straight. But again, this has been an intense battle between Russian and Ukrainian forces. And again, the big thing here that we're really going to capitalize on is it's now starting to impact a lot of normal citizens of Kiev, Kharkiv in Ukraine, but more importantly, now pressuring even the Ukrainian president into, sitting down. And we'll get our colleague now on that. Welcome. Let's lower the volume. Welcome. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. You're getting live images from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. Super excited to be back on with you guys, giving you the latest of what is happening on the ground in Ukraine, in Kiev specifically, as we enter some intense days. Really tough days for the Ukrainian people, really tough days for Kiev. As you can see, some of the areas of Kiev have been hurt, bombarded quite hard over the last couple of days. And in fact, yesterday, I believe it was a children's hospital was targeted by Russian forces in the outskirts of the capital, Kiev. So really tough days ahead, and it's not looking like it's going to change anytime soon. In fact, a lot of the analysts are analyzing there's been a change in strategy by Russian forces, and the Russian forces are right now looking at taking a completely different approach, a more destructive approach into achieving their mission of capturing the capital, which unfortunately means more casualties on both the Ukrainian and the Russian side. And as far as numbers sit right now, you're looking at a minimum reported of about 15,000 deaths so far, and over 2,000 injured. So really tough night for the Ukrainian people, really tough night for everybody, and even for the Russian troops. They've suffered some serious casualties, but the approach by Russian forces has changed significantly over the last couple of days, and now we're looking at a really rough sort of method of advancing, and one that will be okay with civilians as collateral damage in this war. You've seen some airstrikes over the last couple of days. I think you're going to see a lot more of that in the days to come. And like I said, it's a rough time for the Ukrainian people, rough time for those living in Kiev specifically.
So
We will continue our coverage for you guys all night. We ask that you click the like button if you haven't done so. Let's go ahead and click that like button. Support our stream. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, and we'll keep you live and do our part as well.
So I want to get, so earlier I've heard that, again, these are unconfirmed reports, that President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, may step down his position in exchange for a peace deal with Russia to really stop the attacks on Ukrainian civilians in Ukrainian city. What is your take on that? And do you think that is even a possibility that he might say, you know what,
really,
sacrifice the seat, the presidential seat for...
I really think that it's clear now to the people of Kiev particularly, and the people of Ukraine in general, that Russia is now not going to be as open to targeting specific and sort of hunting after military targets. I think it's become clear now to even the Ukrainian leadership that Russia is going to be targeting civilian infrastructure, that they are going to be targeting electric facilities, they're going to be targeting water facilities, they're going to target roads, they're going to target hospitals, they're going to target whatever they need to target in order to achieve their mission, which is capturing the capital and changing leadership. So even the Ukrainian leadership is aware now of those targets, and that becomes of serious concern. I mean, at the beginning of this war, it seemingly was that the Russian forces were going after the Ukrainian army. And now that the Russian forces are seeing that there's some international involvement in one way or another, I mean, there are foreign fighters that are coming in, joining on the Ukrainian side, and it's becoming a tougher battle really for the Russian forces to accomplish that mission by just trying to target military targets in the capital. So they won't be able to accomplish it, unfortunately, they feel, without having to target specific infrastructure and target, unfortunately, civilians. They're the collateral damage in this fight. We've seen some serious artillery move into the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, and it isn't artillery that's going to only target, for sure, military compounds, especially that most of these military compounds have already been targeted. It's not like, these compounds were not targeted. They have been targeted, and they're still not able to advance deep into the capital. And again, this is another clear message to the Russian forces that without having to target civilian infrastructure, they will not be able to let or have the Ukrainian people give up.
So do you think Zelensky will end up possibly maybe, saying, you know what, I'm leaving my position as president of Ukraine in exchange for a peace deal with Russia to kind of, slow the attacks and to stop the attacks on all these, civilian infrastructures like hospitals that are essential to...
I think this is going to be a really big judgment call for Zelensky. Now, does him stepping down mean an end to this war? I think maybe at the beginning of the war, that would have been the case. If, Zelensky had stepped down, I think we would have seen an ending of what was happening on the ground. But right now, I think circumstances have changed for the Russian and the Ukrainian people, and particularly the Russian forces. They've invested too much now to just say, okay, Zelensky's stepped down, now we'll take our losses and step away. I think now they need to show the world that they were able to capture Kiev. It's no longer about Zelensky. It was about Zelensky at one point in time, and at the beginning of the war, if Zelensky had stepped down, I think you would have seen some retreat by Russian forces. But I think the days where Zelensky matters, where Zelensky stepping down will end this war, I think those are over. Because right now, the Russian forces and Russian leadership have to prove to the world, they feel, and themselves and their own people, that their military has the capacity, has the ability to capture the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. And if they don't show that, they seem weak to the world. And I think this has become clear now to the world that, you know what, this battle for Kiev is not as easy of a battle as the Russian forces thought, and the Russian forces need to prove otherwise.
Will Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, stepping down, cause the world to, maybe reduce the sanctions on Russia, or more importantly, stop the shippings of ammunition and jets and all the things that are essential to the military of Ukraine?
Yeah. Your voice is kind of fading away. Your voice is fading a little, but I'm not sure it's my phone or from you.
Okay, so I'll repeat it here.
Yeah,
Does President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, when he steps down, or if he were to step down, does that mean that a lot of these jets and ammunition that was, coming from Western and European countries to the Ukrainian military reduce as well, and maybe that, goes in existence because of Zelensky stepping down as president? Or is the world still going to, try and provide the Ukrainian military with ammunition, even if the president of Ukraine kind of says, you know what, everybody stand down, I'm stepping down as president, let Russia kind of take over?
Yeah, I really think that this is not going to make any difference to the world or the international community, that whether, Zelensky steps down or not. I don't think they're going to give Russia an advantage when Zelensky steps down. I think if anything, hello spiritual, I think if anything, it's going to make the world put more sanctions on Russia, because now Zelensky stepped down and you're still continuing on this mission and continuing to target various sites in Kiev and across Ukraine. So your initial reasoning for advancement into Ukraine and occupying Ukraine has gone now, and you're still in Ukraine. So I think if anything, there's going to be a more intense sanctions on Russia. The only thing that we really have to kind of come to the conclusion of is, what more can you sanction? Right now, everything basically coming into Russia is sanctioned. You're talking about MasterCard, Visa, oil, every little bit. Even you're talking about, we were talking about SWIFT. Now, SWIFT is, 4 major banks in Russia, they've stopped transfers through SWIFT. So there isn't really much room to sanction anything else in the Russian for the Ukraine, for the Russian country. And you get to a point where sanction is not going to work. And I think the international community, it has kind of recognized that sanctions have their limits, and we have approached those limits. What else can you sanction? If anything, now the world is suffering as a result of these sanctions. You're talking about the price of oil in the United States now reaching upwards of $7 to $8 a gallon, and they're expected to be in double digits in the coming days. This is massive and completely devastating to the American people and to the general public. And this is the United States, and you talk about Canada, you talk about $2 a liter. In the coming days, we're sitting at about $1.90 right now. So this is devastating for the international world. And we're talking about developed countries that have the money and the capacity to afford a little bit, to some degree, even though people are still feeling the pinch, but to some degree afford the oil. But you talk about developing countries. You talk about Africa, you talk about, the Middle East, you talk about parts of Asia, you talk about, all these poor countries. And what is their number one need? Wheat, right? That's cheap, flour. Okay? People need their bread. And the number two exporter of wheat globally, you're talking about global powers in wheat export, Russia and Ukraine, both of them. So these countries are going to have a hard time adjusting. So again, it's really a tough situation for the world, a tough situation for Ukraine, a tough situation for Russia. But what matters right now most is the advancement into the capital of Ukraine, Kiev.
Okay, so what would be the difference? And again, for everybody that's new, again, we're talking about some unconfirmed reports, possibly breaking news that President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, may be stepping down in exchange for a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia to stop the shelling and to stop the war on Ukraine. What will change if Zelensky steps down as president of Ukraine? Or is anything going to change?
I'm going to start by saying, guys, if you've not clicked the like button, there's 85 of us. Let's try and get 50 likes. Come on. Push that button. Do your part. We're doing our part in giving you live images. You're looking at images right now from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, where it's 6:10. Again, the curfew, if you don't know yet, the curfew is imposed from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. So there's still about 2 hours of curfew. Make sure you share the stream with your friends and family on Twitters and Facebook and all that good stuff. Do your part. We're trying to do our part. We'll try and give you coverage for as long as we can. Now, in reference to the reports that Zelensky will be stepping down to try and avoid a further fight, it's probably part of the negotiation that's trying to happen. But what is it going to change on the ground? I really think it's not going to change anything right now. I do think that at some point it would have. I think at some point it would have had a bit of a difference at the beginning of the war when the Russian president Putin came out and said, the people of Kiev and the people of Ukraine, don't let the Ukrainian political wing and leadership, those that are drug dealers and so on, don't let them use your families as shield. And that was him hinting at you need to revolt and switch leadership. But I think now again, Russia is weak. It's seemingly weak to the world, and the fact that they can't advance into Kiev has really confirmed that. So they need to reinstate their will and reinstate their ability, and the fact that they're a global military power. And in order to do that now, they feel that they need to capture the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, the city that they've had a very hard time making any movement into. Sean says, bread is bad for you, nothing but meat and veggies. Spiritual says, I think maybe a Russian government in Ukraine. Brian says, it is incredible that this guy has 88, which, wow, now 87. Thank you, Brian. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Guys, click the like button. I really appreciate it. Again, we're doing our part. We're trying to stream for you guys for as long as we need be, giving you guys the latest information, latest news and coverage of what is happening in the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, and doing our own little analysis, and you kind of think for yourself, what part you agree with, what part you disagree with. And there's a Discord link in the description, and you can join the conversation and talk just like us. With that said, you guys are getting live images again from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, where it's 6:10 a.m. right now, and where the curfew continues to be imposed until about 8 in the morning. Now the total, I'll just give you some numbers, guys, so you're aware of kind of where we're sitting at. Confirmed numbers, obviously the numbers could be a lot higher, but so far, number of casualties is in upwards of 13,000. It's reported to be between 13 and 15,000. This is both sides, the Russian and the Ukrainian side. Again, these are official numbers. I know there's some that are reporting like just Russian soldiers, 15,000 killed, but the official numbers are about 13,000 between the Russian and Ukrainian forces. Casualties in terms of injuries, about 2,000. And the total number of evacuated or refugees from Ukraine is now in the 2 million people mark.
How do you think the world will react to Zelensky stepping down? Is it going to be a shock, or is it something that people expect already?
Let's be. I think here's the thing. I mean, if Zelensky steps down, but this war does not end, it is, if anything, it'll drop the morale of the Ukrainian people. And it will boost the morale of the Russian people. I think it is Zelensky has to think about this before making a final decision onto what it's going to do. Now, if there is a deal already made before Zelensky steps down between the Russian government and the Ukrainian government under his leadership, that, I step down, and that guarantees that the Russian military leaves Ukraine, then it'll be a completely different story. But if the Russian military had, Russian leadership had told him prior, step down and we'll think about it, I don't think they will step away. And I think all it'll do is decreasing the morale of the Ukrainian people, right? Him stepping on the front line was a big booster to the morale of the military in Ukraine. But if he was to do the opposite of that and step away from that front line, you'd almost feel like the government's kind of given up on winning or maintaining their land or their country in this war. It's almost a sign of giving up.
Let's say the other category, that you just mentioned.
Robbie! How's it going, Robbie? Welcome to the stream. Spiritual, how are you both?
I'm good. Thank you.
So sick, no way. What if Russia, so Uncanny Ricardo says, what if Russia doesn't want to capture Kiev, but just destroying that artillery? That's what they did in Aleppo. So I think right now, Russia is ego and its vision, a view of the world's view of Russia has declined so much. You know, seeing Russia as a world power, military power, it doesn't seem like it is right now, particularly because it's not able to capture a city that's being protected essentially by civilians that are just given standard weapons. I mean, obviously there are some military gear, there is some air defense systems and such, but it's primarily inexperienced soldiers that are fighting the front lines of Kiev right now, in addition to a little bit of Ukrainian military. The fact that a trained Russian military with all of their equipment and gear and top of the line supposedly rockets and all this stuff are not able to capture the capital, it's a big stain on Russia's reputation. And I think they want to clear that stain before they end. It's not just about destroying Kiev. The fact that the world sees they're not able to enter Kiev is devastating to the Russian leadership. Spirit just says, I used to idol Russia. Now, I think a lot of people, I don't want to say idol, but I think a lot of people saw Russia as a military power comparative to the United States. But I think that vision has gone down significantly since, after this war. I think the ability of the Russian military to fight a war with a developing country, surround the city and not be able to capture or even get into the city is devastating to their reputation, as far as they see it. Hurton says, 20 minutes behind live, but I love you guys. Love from Canada to both Ukrainians and Russians. In times like these, civilians all around the world got to stick together. Absolutely, absolutely, Hurton. Thank you for the kind comments, and we appreciate you joining the stream. Please, 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 guys, go ahead and scroll and click that like button. It really helps us out. Do your part. We appreciate it very much, and it helps with the YouTube algorithm. Let's utilize that and try and get as many people to see the stream and see what's going on in Kiev and Ukraine and kind of talk about what's happening on the ground. And share it with your friends and family on your Twitters and Facebooks and all that good stuff, that good fun stuff. Shatter says, Russia doesn't use U.S. strategies and tactics. They go after the enemy army, not the cities. So, Shatter, I agree with you at the beginning of this war. I'm not going to discuss U.S. tactics. I'm not sure. But, I agree with you at the beginning of this war, but don't you think that this has changed? We are seeing Russia be targeting civilian infrastructure. They've targeted hospitals. They targeted media buildings. They're targeting airports. They're targeting. We're talking about civilian airports. They're targeting all these targets, especially over the last 3 days or so, when they have surrounded Kiev and not been able to enter the city. And they've had planes down. They've had helicopters down. So I think the strategy's changed. Robbie says, oligarchs raid Russian military from resources. Tobacco says, I'm not going to judge Russia until it's over. We'll see what happens over the last couple of days. I think we are really, regardless of what happens, and regardless if Zelensky does step down as the president of Ukraine, regardless of that, I think we are looking at some final days of this war. I think, honestly, before the end, I think within a week, you're going to see some sort of resolution to this conflict. It doesn't mean that the Russian forces are going to already be in Russia, but I think there will be some sort of resolution. I do think, though, we're going to see 2 or 3 days of battles like we have never seen before up to this point in this war. And I think there's going to be Russian forces that enter the capital. I really think that Russia has invested its entire military will to try and capture Kiev, and I think they will. I really think at some point you're going to see some heavy bombardments into the capital, and then you're going to see troops just march through. And I do think they're going to suffer some serious casualties, but I think they will push forward and capture the capital. And that will be the signal, once they've captured the capital, that they've accomplished their mission. Zelensky's going to step down, or he's going to be caught. I think they're going to look for him. But maybe they'll figure out a deal where they enter Kiev so that, at least from a propaganda, or from, for the Russian people, it's a victory. And then I think maybe Zelensky will step down. Russian forces will say, we have accomplished our mission. We have captured the capital. We have changed leadership. And now we can go back to our country. And I think you'll see an end to the war that way. I really don't see an end to the war without the capture of Kiev. It's for me, after what Russian forces have suffered on the outskirts of Kiev, and the global vision of Russia, not inability to capture a city that in a country like Ukraine, and not to
But does
devalue
Zelensky stepping down as president kind of give Russia the victory anyways? Is the resistance?
No,
is,
I don't think so. I
but
really don't.
think about it like
I
this:
think,
if Zelensky
yeah.
comes out one day and says, "You know what, Russian resistance, step down. That's it. The war's ended. I'm stepping down as president. Russia will come in, and it's done that way." Does that automatically mean that the Russian resistance that's in Kiev kind of steps down as well because he's in Kiev?
No, no. I really think at initially you would have been right, but I think the Ukrainian people have taken it into their own hands to fight this battle. This is no longer a Ukrainian leadership decision. I don't think it was. I think it was at the beginning. Again, things have fallen apart. Right now, you're having every citizen going in and fighting. I was just reading today a platoon nearly a platoon. They formed a platoon. Canadians have traveled to Ukraine to fight, and they've launched a platoon, an entire platoon made out of these foreigners to Ukraine. So you're talking about a country right now that is divided with one goal, right? This is what is Ukraine right now, regardless of how you see it. During these times where you allow all these private armies, if you want to call them that, to go in and fight, they're divided with the same goal. So they'll accomplish different things, but it'll all lead to this goal of freeing Ukraine from the Russians. But once that goal is already there. Now Zelensky can say, I've accomplished I'm going to step down, and that's it. You guys, let the Russians in. But he's one group from now hundreds. This is a problem, though, for Ukraine after the war ends, if there isn't some real leadership, like a real leader that will capture it. Because then you'll have all these divided groups, and now they're all armed. So there has to be a strong leader after, but that's a whole different conversation. But that's what I mean. I mean, Zelensky right now, he's not the decision maker anymore. He was the decision maker, but right now it's not about Zelensky. Right now, Russian people feel that the Russian forces have it, or Ukrainian people feel that the Russian forces are trying to take their homes, and they're going to fight for them. So whether Zelensky steps down, stays there, fights on the front lines, gives up, whatever he does, leaves Ukraine, it doesn't change that end goal, which is that the Russians move back. Now, are the Russians going to accept leaving without capturing Kiev? That's a real question. And I have a feeling that that's not going to be the case.
What difference does it make to Russia, really, if they take Kiev or not? Again, their goal is to change the president, right? They don't like the government. They say that, Zelensky is a robber and all of that stuff. What benefit does Russia get from capturing Kiev other than replacing the government, which, if Zelensky decides to step down, is already going to be done for them?
Yeah, so the thing is, it's a symbolic thing, right? Like the whole war on Ukraine. Like, why did the United Russia enter Ukraine to begin with and lose all these troops and lose, all these military vehicles and lose planes and fight this whole war and be sanctioned? Why did they do that? It's a symbolic, right? They want to show that we're strong. If we want to change the Ukrainian government, we can. Ukraine is nothing. It's all about, it's a symbolic gesture, right? We were going to go in, and they didn't think we would have to do fight a war to do it, a major war. But again, this is the same thing, right? Capture of Kiev right now is symbolic. It's a symbolic victory. So if they don't get the symbolic victory, though, it's a failure. And, Putin doesn't have to respond to the world. He doesn't have to prove anything to the world, but he does have to prove something to the Russian people. And although the Russian people do, follow Putin, they're very prideful people, right? They're very nationalistic, very prideful, to the fact that, they're willing to go to war without necessarily believing the cause. A lot of the Russians don't believe necessarily the cause of Putin, but they feel like, Putin said this, he's looking after the best of our country. We need to do this to protect our country. But then Putin goes in and he can't accomplish the mission. That really puts the Russian people, makes them feel like, we were prideful. We thought our country was the strongest country in the world, blah, blah, blah. And now we can't even get into one city. So it's a very big failure, at least in the eyes of the Russian people, on the government, and I don't think Putin would be okay with that. Even himself, he has a very strong ego, right? For him to have this failure on his record is a big deal.
You know, we speak about Russia kind of failing this, and a lot of people, really not just us, even the U.S., when they came out and said, you know, they were talking, they said Russia was behind on a lot of their own timelines that they had suspected. They thought it was just easy, you know, going in, taking Kiev, taking Ukraine, and leaving. What impact is this going to have on Russia, and how do you think in terms of this war, what could really flip the picture for the world? And right now, again, Russia looks like the weak one. Russia looks like the one that can't fight a country without a military. Really, Ukraine in terms of military capabilities, very, very low on. And Russia which is supposed to be, you know, a first world power with nuclear weapons and all of that, now looks terrible. What will flip the picture and really show Russia as, you know, wow, look at Russia, look at their military capabilities? Or can anything, or is it just demolished right now that's irreparable?
So I will start by saying, Audrey says even Russian people are fleeing their homeland. Tobacco says laughing until they knock down your door. Ruptures talking. Let's see here. Mark says Russian government and industry is nothing but a mafia enterprise. So look, I think that again, it is even for the world to see Russia as a leadership again, or as this huge military, again, leading military power in the world. They have to prove something in Kiev, and not that, you know, we want to see that. Nobody wants to see war. Nobody wants to see, you know, any casualties. But I think for the world, if you're saying how does the United States see Russia as, you know, strong again? How does the world see Russia strong again? I think they have to prove something in Kiev. They have to prove that they were joking. You know, this was all a game to them until now, when they decided to capture Kiev. And you know what? The second they decided to capture Kiev, they captured it, which I think is going to be really hard. But perhaps that's why they're moving this, you know, 50-mile long convoy. Like, this is serious push by the Russian leadership to say, you know, we're going to use serious power. We're going to, you know, smack the hammer, and we're going to capture Kiev. So if they can do that, I think if they can, you know, suddenly in a day, say, go in and be like, you know, we have the center of Kiev, nobody can do nothing, then maybe the world will see, you know, they'll think that Russia was not pushing their hardest to capture the capital. But until then,
is possibly nuking the, you know, the capital, is if Russia decides one day that, listen, we're gonna nuke Kiev, does that really bring it back and everybody kind of steps?
So look. You know, first of all, nuking, anybody can nuke. I mean, nuke doesn't show that you have a strong army. If you use your nuclear weapons, you know what? That's a bomb, right? It gets bombed, it destroys the country. But that doesn't show you have a strong military.
No, but think about it like this. Think about it like this. When the U.S. nuked, you know, Japan, everybody kind of got scared. Everybody gave, you know, the U.S.
Listen. The times that of the United States is not like, you know, the times that the United States nuked Nagasaki and Hiroshima are different than the times that now. Like back then, at those days, nobody knew that a nuclear bomb existed. Now there's like a lot of countries that have nuclear bombs. And we know that Russia has a nuclear bomb. That one was a shock. It's like suddenly you see, you know, Russia had this huge tank that walks over the entire country. You know, it's different. Like, these are different times. And again, at those times when the United States bombed Japan, there's no such thing. There was no such thing known as a nuke. And, you know, when the United States used it, they were like, oh my God, what is this thing that the United States used a bomb? But now we know nuclear weapons exist and nuclear bombs exist. It's not going to be a shock to anybody, you know, the level of destruction that those nuclear bombs are going to do. And we know that Russia has nuclear weapons. We didn't know the United States had nuclear weapons. Guys, 50 likes. Come on. There's 16 of you. Go ahead and push that button. Help us out. Move your mouse. Do the honor and click that like button. Share the stream with your friends and family. You know, we're doing our part, giving you live images from the Capitol, talking to you guys about, you know, our analysis and giving you the latest news. Do your part by clicking that like button. It really helps us out. And make sure you share the stream with your friends and family on Twitters and Facebooks and all that good stuff. If Russia used nukes, we won't want to get involved to stop the nuclear war, though. I think a lot of the I don't think nobody's going to get involved. I don't think anybody in the world is going to get involved, whether Russia uses a nuke or they don't. I think the world is pretty much they just don't want to get involved right now, and they don't. Nobody wants to lose anything. I think it's too much of a risk globally for nuclear weapons to be used. I mean, look, if Russia uses a nuclear weapon, is any other country going to use a nuclear weapon? I have a hard time believing, because you know what? If you have 2, 3, 4, 5 nukes, I know you start a nuclear war, you're gonna end the world for everybody. So it's a tough spot if one country uses a nuclear weapon. You would hope somebody would be wiser than to end the world.
And as things really take, as of this time, Russia and Ukraine have kind of organized a humanitarian aspect where a lot of people are fleeing from those big cities that are targeted, Kharkiv, and there's a few other ones. Is there a reason to why Russia has kind of opened now up the humanitarian corridor? Like, we've seen this negotiation multiple times where it happens and it fails, and it happens and it fails, and
it's really tough for negotiations and for an open corridor and for ceasefire, in the midst of a war, because it really the peace talks or the negotiation or the fire is broken by one person. One person shoots a bullet, it ruins the whole ceasefire. So it could be either side. I mean, you have all these fronts all across Kiev, and once one person breaks the ceasefire, and you have a lot of individuals, even within Ukraine. There is a lot of small groups, and so it's tough to control every single member of the army, every single member of the Russian soldiers, and on the Ukrainian side, every member that's fighting on the ground right now. So it's so hard for a ceasefire to be fully enforced. Now, what has to happen if both sides are really looking for a ceasefire, is they have to be okay with not declaring the ceasefire broken if there's a shot here or a shot there. It's kind of like overall, there's no major bombardments, there's no major targeting of artillery, no major targeting of civilians. A shot here, a shot there, that's unstoppable. You cannot stop that. There's all these small groups of people fighting, and you're going to have a shot fired here and a shot fired there. You kind of got to step past that and just say, you know what, yeah. But what's happening right now is you get a shot fired, and then you get the Russian forces say, there was a shot fired, no, ceasefire's off. And then you get a shot fired from the Russian side. They're carrying, saying, oh, shots fired, no, ceases off. So you kind of are always in between leadership declaring whether the ceasefire is alive or it's not. So there has to be a bit of a change in mentality in order to keep anything going. Robbie says, we are all involved if they blow a nuclear plant. Absolutely we are. Spiritual says, it's a rough one, definitely. Yeah, I don't think I do think whoever is in charge, they won't do it. Shatter says, Russia always opens corridors. Did it in China and Aleppo. Uncanny. Look, I think, again, at the end of the day, those corridors are open as long as your own soldiers and your own people are not suffering as a result of them. The moment Russia feels that those corridors being open will impact negatively on their ability to fight this war, or their advancements of their soldiers, or the safety of the soldiers, they're going to close them. I think when you open these corridors, it gives you an advantage from a military perspective, especially if you're strong, I should say, because after people leave, you can target without having concern that the world is going to see you as a criminal. See what I'm saying? So you say, you know what, empty this area, I've left it, and I've left this corridor open for 24 hours. If you're innocent, if you're a civilian, leave. After 24 hours are done, you can just target anything you want, and it's fair game. Okay, where are we at? Let's see here. Rupture says, use common sense, people. We're being told by our media that Zelensky is some great hero when the truth is he's cross-dressing comedian. Use your brain. Kirax says cyber attacks are more of a threat in terms of weapons not used by Russia yet. If they haven't been used already, I couldn't imagine Putin being so deranged to start a nuclear war. Tobacco says most people you see commenting obviously don't know the last 200 years of Russia and Persian history. Persian history. Sean says I would take him over Sleepy Joe. Who would you take over Sleepy Joe, Sean? We Ben Had says many bad actors globally. Trudeau, Zelensky, Biden, Macron, Boris Johnson. Enough with the elite clown show. Yeah, look, but it's different levels, right? I mean, even in elections, sometimes both presidents or both president-elects are not the right pick, or they're not suitable, perhaps, to be president or be prime minister or whatever. But sometimes you got to pick the best of the both, the two evils, and that's when kind of what we try to do. Sean says, yeah, so let's burn it all down and start over. I don't know if you're talking about nuclear weapons. All right, guys, if you've not clicked the like button, please go ahead and help us click that like button. We've been streaming for about, what is it now? 42 minutes. Oh my God, time is flying. Right now, it's 6:45 a.m. in the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. Guys, let's share this like crazy. Go crazy and share it with your friends and family on Twitter, Facebook, all this good stuff, guys. All your social media if you can. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure you click the like button if you haven't done so. We're going to try and stream for you as long as need be. If you are able to support us, we would really, really appreciate those shares and those likes, guys. Come on. Again, live images from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. As we go a little bit deeper into the morning light there, and as it's likely to intensify over the next couple of days, probably starting today. Russian forces have been threatening over the last couple of days that they will be starting bombardment of the capital, Kiev. And again, there was a strike earlier, yesterday now, 6:45, but yesterday, of it looks like a children's hospital, unfortunately, in the capital, Kiev. So, if you have an opinion you want to share on the stream, you can do that on Discord. Join on Discord. Be respectful in the opinion you share, but you can share whatever opinion you want. You can speak live and talk about it. I'm happy to even debate you if you want.
Mm-hmm. Is there at any point that a lot of Western countries now are shipping ammunition, jets, and weapons to Ukraine? Is there at any point where the Western countries may say, you know what,
enough?
It's not a good idea because these weapons might fall into Russia's hands. We're sending them for Ukraine.
I don't think so. I don't think they're worried about falling in Russian hands. I think they know that Russia has a good. They have the military equipment they have. We can't say they don't, but I think we are approaching the point where the Russian countries, even in terms of aid, they are getting drained. I think economically the world is drained. I think we were drained by COVID, and then for 3 years, and we were just price of oil, and a lot that's happened globally has drained the economies of all these countries. And now the sanctions on Russia are draining the world too. So I think it comes to a point where people are, countries and leadership, and even local people will say, I had enough. You know what? I can't help anymore. I need to help myself. I need to help my people first before I can help Ukraine. And I think that we are in the process of approaching that. I think a lot of people are feeling stressed. A lot of people are feeling financially burdened by what is happening and the support, and even the government. I mean, look, at the end of the day, leaders in every country are seeking re-election and are seeking the satisfaction of their people, right? So if you offer support for Ukraine, but in the process you are hurting the people of your own country, your elected voters, then you really make you don't benefit much, right? You feel like you're not going to be re-elected, and you're going to probably be blamed after for what you've done to your country. So I think we are getting at that point. I think you're not hearing that much anymore about aid going to Ukraine. I think there was a push to the aid in the first week or so. I think now a lot of the countries are saying, you know what, we've helped out. Now it's time to relax and focus on subsidizing the price of oil, subsidizing the price of food, subsidizing and supporting our own people as these prices become really unbearable for the vast majority of your average people. Guys, it's 6:51 right now in the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. As you know, the morning gets deeper, and about an hour away from when the curfew is going to be lifted, which is soon, hopefully, over the next little while, we're going to see the curfew lifted. There's none of you that can click that need to click the like button. Do the honor, click the like button. Sean says we just passed other 2 billion in arms for Ukraine. Yeah, there's been a lot of support that was provided to Ukraine and in this war, a lot of aid that they've received. But is that enough? And maybe even the Ukrainian government saying, you know what, we have our weapons, we have what we need now. It's just a matter of fighting this war. And Kenny says, when do you think the final assault on Kiev will happen? I really think you can expect it in the coming days. I think you may start to see some serious battles on the outskirts today, to be honest with you. I think the times where it was like, we were saying, probably next 24, 48 hours, I think those are gone. I think it's an any moment now that we will start to see that assault. And I think it'll start with really heavy bombardment of the capital. Carrick says, I don't see a lot of options for Putin. I feel he either retaliates or has mercy on the lives of his nation that are being drained of their livelihood due to sanctions that paralyze their economy. So Kira, I to be honest with you, I look at the prices in Russia. The price of oil right now, the whole world's complaining, right, about the price of oil. The price of oil right now in Russia is 40 cents a liter. It's about $1.80 a gallon. The price of home rentals are in the range of $200. Like, it's a lot cheaper in Russia than it is in the vast majority of the world right now. Now, it could be because they're not selling to the world, so the supply is really high internally, but the Russian people are not feeling as big of a pinch as the people of the vast majority of the world. United States, you're talking about the price of oil now in the upwards of $7 a gallon, and it's expected to reach double digits in the next couple of days. In Canada, it's close to $2 and $2 a barrel, and it's expected to reach $3 in a couple of days. So it's really crazy right now what is happening to the average Joe in the vast majority of the world. For those of you that are joining new, guys, the curfew in the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, will be lifted in the next hour or so, as we expect intense battles for the capital in the next little while. For those of you that have joined new, if you haven't clicked the like button, please help us out. Click the like button. Let's share the stream with our friends and family and get as many people aware of what is happening. It's a rough couple of days for the people of Ukraine. And again, just earlier last morning, in Kiev, there was a children's hospital, unfortunately targeted by Russian jets. No reports of casualties on that hospital yet. Tobacco says, I would take Odessa first. What would you take? You mean attack Odessa first, take it over? Shutter says, Odessa is key. Free up those brigades to move them north. So, I think, but Odessa is in tough battle. I think Odessa is on the verge of falling. Sean says, Keith, the World Health Organization comes out and says that the biolab stuff is left over lab after the Russian left. Let's get 50 likes, guys. 7 more if you do the honor. We have 67 people live right now. Go ahead and click that like button and share it with your friends and family as well on Twitter or Facebook, all that stuff. Live images from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. A very, very nice morning. It's a bit cloudy, it looks like, in the capital. Don't you see that, guys? Geek News, you're with us as well?
Yep. Here, I'm just.
All right, guys. Again, you're seeing some live images of the capital of Ukraine. It's been so. Had says gas will peak at about $8 a gallon. It will settle back around $4 a gallon after this consumer shock test, and everyone will be grateful for paying another dollar more. It's the same old elite playbook. Man, but you guys got to remember, the world's been struggling for the last 3 years with COVID, affecting the economy and people's livelihood and the prices and inflation. And now this war, people are tired. Like, even us, like, I'm tired, to be honest. The prices are just insane right now. I mean, the prices of homes, I know in my city, have gone up 44% compared to this time last year. It's just unbearable. The price of food about 15 to 25% higher. It's just too much. And now with the price of oil, like at $2 a liter, is just, you get this, like, it feels like it's too much. It's almost unbearable. And Tobacco says, last time Russia was at war, it took 2 years. Uncanny says, what happened to the sanctions if Russia wins? Eventually they will happen if Russia loses. So look, I think within reference to the sanctions, I don't think anything will change. I think once Russia backs up, whether they win or they lose, once they pull the troops back to Russia, all those sanctions are going to be lifted. They're going to be lifted.
Really, you think so?
Yeah. They're not just going to be lifted because for Russia. They're going to be lifted because the world needs the stuff that's in Russia right now, oil and wheat. They can't. Right now they have to do it, in standing with solidarity with Ukraine. But once that's done, they need that oil. They need that wheat. It's unavoidable. Europe, man. Europe needs it. There's a trillion pipelines going through Russia and providing supplies to Europe. They can't survive, man. It's going to be crazy expensive if they continue with this way.
Do you think the world will just say, you know what, since we're sanctioned, let's now find alternative ways to kind of, get that excess oil?
Nah, I don't think it'll.
Maybe it's by going through like more energy efficient and of course things like that.
I don't think anything. So it depends how long this war lasts. If it doesn't last too long, everything's gonna go back like before. But if it lasts a long time, then yeah, people get used to other things, right? But right now, if within the next week, 2 weeks, even month, Russian troops return, then no, everything's gonna go back like before.
Will Russia's economic impact really change whatsoever, even if it lasts long in the long term? Again, I know a lot of industry now, like clothes, they have of course wheat and oil. Especially since the previous sanctions, Russia has kind of built its own economy where a lot of the things they use, they produce. Is there anything that might make their own people say, you know what, we are taking a big hit, I'm paying a lot more for certain things because now these can't, they can't ship them, sanctions and all of that. Is there any point where the civilians and the population of Russia might say, you know what is this for, and kind of like revolt or start protesting that aspect of things and really emphasize their protest by again trying to find kind of like trying to revolt because of those.
The Russians.
Yep.
No, man, that's not gonna happen. The Russians have it cheaper than us right now. No way. The Russians' oil, like I said, it's 40 cents a liter right now, and the entire world is paying $2 a liter almost. Their rent is $200 a month. Their food is a quarter of the price of where it is globally. So no, I don't think the Russian people are going to revolt.
Do you think the Russians are benefiting from this war, maybe by getting
I don't think they're benefiting.
cheaper pricing?
Yeah, I think the Russian leadership has made it that it's not changing anymore. There's no difference because of this war to the Russian people. But I think what Russian people care right now is looking in their pride. They don't want the pride of Russia to be hurt. And imagine these Russian people, they're the same people that said, if Russia doesn't exist, the world should not exist. So they have this mentality of, they're very nationalist, very prideful. So I think the fact that they lose this war is a bigger deal to them or feel like they've lost this war is a bigger deal to them than having to worry about the entire world sanctioning them, especially that there's been no change in price. Robbie says, no, if war crimes are filed, sanctions cannot be lifted. Tobacco, Ukraine's in history is the heart of the conflict between socialists and communists. Shadow says Russians will likely benefit ultimately, but not in the short term. It depends. I am not going to say they're going to benefit. I don't think they're being hurt right now as much as people think they're being hurt. I think people are assuming that Russia is being hurt a lot worse than the Russians are actually being hurt. I think they're prepared for this.
If anybody's curious what this music is, and again, because it might come to you as a shock, but this is actually it's from Ukraine, from the capital. Every day, multiple times a day, they put the Ukrainian national anthem, and it's broadcasted live all over Ukraine, and specifically all over Kiev. And because our camera is located to one of these, you guys can hear it clear. But it's kind of, again, it's to reaffirm that patriotism. Really, they are trying to ingrain in everybody that, listen, this is the time of difficulty, but we're all united under Ukraine. We're all patriotic to Ukraine, and we will kind of defend our country and our... And it just ended right here. But again, this is kind of this is how they're doing it. You see a lot of Ukrainians kind of joining up, making groups to try and defend the country and to try and attack through here and there. And really, the Ukrainian government as a whole and Zelensky have kind of, again, put out that idea of, listen, we're fighting for freedom and our rights in our country, and let's unite together and really show.
So there's breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, there's breaking news. One of the U.S.'s top generals is saying that that Ukraine needs more anti-tank and anti-aircraft weapons rather than fighter planes. The general, Todd Walters, thinks that if Ukrainians or the Ukrainian army receives more planes, that's likely to only escalate the war. So the American leadership wanted the Ukrainians to defend rather than try to push the Russian forces back. And again, this is what you're getting, guys. Kind of what I'm getting at. The world do see that you know the Russians have to accomplish their mission in capturing Kiev, and then they will back out. Weeben has as truth. Nothing else will save humanity. God help us all to find the truth. Orland says, I'm curious. Oh, Robbie says, love it. He's talking, I think, about the national anthem. Mr. Collins, Russian planes can't go away. The ships can't dock. Technology and banks are gone. How can they recover without a debt which will keep the currency low? It's impossible. You would be shocked. You would be shocked. And but they're like, because Russia is not a country. I think it's not a country that's based on or their economy is not built on a stable, markets or stable economy. They've always been sanctioned. There's numerous times where there's trouble between them and the United States. So they're accustomed to this. They're prepared for this. This may seem like impossible for a lot of other countries. It may seem impossible for the United States because their economy is so integrated with the rest of the world. For a country though that's not so integrated, that has had sanctions, it's not so strange that they would recover from this.
Realistically, the Russia was, from its existence, it was living in that state. It was built on a sanctioned basis from the time of the USSR. Soviet Union, again, so they've kind of been accustomed to this since they've existed, and they've found a way to really cope by doing a lot of their own things in Russia. And then,
you know how you can tell? You can tell because you ask any Russian, tell them, you know what, they're going to be sanctioned. You're being sanctioned. You know what the response is? You tell me. What's the response?
A lot of them really don't care.
They say we've been sanctioned forever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We will get back. We've always been sanctioned. They know. Like, I mean, they've never been sanctioned to this degree. I give you that, but it's not like a big deal to them anymore. Shadow says Russia is resilient, and the people and the government. They have products people need, and now sell it rebels. Hurts the U.S. dollar. Mr. Cumming, economy of 1.56 trillion for 150 million people is poor, especially when 40% of the economy is oil. No Starbucks, bro. No Starbucks, bro.
You know what? This kind of gets me thinking when Roby says no Starbucks. Is there really an impact? You know, when you have companies like Starbucks and like Coca-Cola and Pepsi come on and say, we're withdrawing our sales and our manufacturing facilities in Russia. Does that actually impact, or is this kind of like a symbolic thing that they're like, no more Pepsi for you because you're Russian?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think if anything, it is better for the Russian economy long term. Short term, yes, I agree. But long term, they're really hurting themselves more than anything. Look, people will find a way. So businesses will always find a way. So you leave, another business starts. You know what? Maybe then Pepsi won't exist, but guess what? Or Coca-Cola won't exist. Guess what? Another company is gonna come out and create something called Coke or something, we are a different name, and it's gonna be a completely Russian company. And it's gonna taste similar to Coca-Cola. And that is gonna be the number one seller. So then you can't pressure Russians. The next time you go to sanction Russia, what happens?
You can't use those anymore.
You can't use the same things. And now people are used to drinking this Coca instead of Coca-Cola. This new brand. They're used to drinking that now, so they don't care if you cut off their Coca-Cola. Same thing goes with iPhone. iPhone wants to take off all facilities and they stop all sales. Okay, I agree with you. Okay, now it's going to hurt them. But guess what? In a year or 2 years, or even the next couple of days, I guarantee you companies are going to launch and create a smartphone product called Russia Phone. And the next time you go to sanction Russia, you know what? You can't. iPhone will not already be there. And people will be used to using this slower, not as cool phone, but people are used to it. And the sanctions won't affect them as much. And that goes for everything, right? You can't use the sanction. Now you sanction them. It hurts them now. Today they will feel the pinch, but tomorrow they will have an alternative.
Do you think
No, it's pressure, right? It's pressure by the people. Like if you're in Canada and everybody's against Russia and everybody's with Ukraine and you're selling to the Russian people, you look bad, right? So these companies have branches all over the world. They have 1,000 branches, and they have out of the 1,000, 100 in Russia. Do we lose sales on 900 because people are pissed off at us that we haven't sanctioned Russia like the rest of the world? So we can, make a little bit extra money in 100? No, it's not worth it. From a business perspective, it's not worth it. So they will say, you know what, we would sacrifice 100 in Russia to make sure our 900 and outside of Russia are doing fine. But here's what's going to happen. If, again, all of this depends on the war. If the war ends quickly, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, 1 month, every single company that has closed now will reopen.
Do you think, though, the Russians are going to kind of look at them at all these companies that during the war kind of, went against Russia? Are the Russians going to look at them as if they're traitors and really start to use their money to buy Russian into other Russian companies, even if they're lower quality, but at least they can say these are Russian?
Yeah. No, I think the Russian people, they know. They know everybody is on the sides of the United States. Everybody's inside of Europe. They know that they're on their own. Everybody's going to say, they don't care. That's the thing. At the end of the day, they don't care. Hey, you know what? We've accomplished our mission. We did what we did. You know what? You wanted to cut us off then? Cut us off then. Come back now? Come back now. Whatever. If we don't like you, we'll cut you. We will cut you off. If we like you, we'll. And this is the government kind of playing it. So I think the Russian people don't care.
But is the average consumer going to decide that, what, there's iPhone and then there's this brand newly made Russian company that, hires Russian workers Are they going to say, you know what, Russia was or
No.
iPhone was against us? Let's go ahead and buy from this Russian
I
company.
don't think so. I think a lot of the Russian people are not. I don't want to say they're probably not happy and they're not upset about this war. This war does not mean anything to them. It's a neutral thing. Oh, we went into war. Do you hate the Ukrainian people? No, we don't hate the Ukrainian people. Do you like the Ukrainian people? No, I don't like the Ukrainian people. What do you think of the Ukrainian people? They're people. And I think the sort of mentality that they're having is, you know what? We want to make sure the Ukraine doesn't join NATO. But you know what? We don't hate the Ukrainian people. They're not our best friends, but we don't care. If they want to go join Ukraine, NATO, they're going to get attacked. If they don't want to join NATO, they're not going to get attacked. They want to listen to us. That's okay. We won't attack them. They don't want to listen to us. So it's kind of like a neutral mentality towards Ukraine. I don't think the Russian people are super naturalistic about this war specifically. You know what? We hate the Ukrainian people. We have to get them. It's not that type of war. When the United States went after Afghanistan, the American people were like, you know what? We want Al Qaeda. We want to kill, Taliban. They killed our people. We want to kill them, and we're gonna do whatever it needs. We bomb the hell out of them, destroy that. That's kind of the mentality within the American people, and that's normally how war is. But in Russia, it's not like that, right? They are not happy that they want to join NATO. You're not allowed to join NATO. We don't want to kill you. We don't want to kill civilians. We don't hate you. You can't join NATO, though. You can't join NATO. And that's the sort of mentality. So I don't think it's like, we don't want anything that has to do with anything with Ukraine. It's not like that, I think, for the Russian people. Mm-hmm. Roby Gonzalez says they will end it. So what do you mean in reference to the U.S.? What about the U.S.?
Tobacco Rowie says, so far Burger King is staying in Russia. I like Burger King. Cheddar says Whoppers are better than Big Macs anyways. Are these companies that are staying in Russia, that are kind of neutral right now, are they going to get a hit from either side, or is really nothing going to change for them?
I think the countries the companies that are trying to stay, that are staying neutral, are trying to like hide from the flashlight, right? They don't want to hurt their business. Look, I don't think they're going to be penalized for it. I really don't. I think bigger companies that have a bigger impact, maybe like Facebook, social media, they talk about news. If anybody talks positive about, Russia, it looks bad. iPhone, maybe because it's involved in technology and social media, maybe it can be used, for military purposes. But Burger King, it's not going to be used for military purposes. They're kind of trying to hide it from the flashlight as well. They're not prideful. They're not proud. We are in Russia. We don't care what the rest of the world thinks. They're not like that. They're kind of just trying to make their business survive. And I think maybe that's what should have happened. I think, look, a general ban, I think, on the Russian people, I'm not like 100% pro that. I don't think it'll make any difference to the war. Like, look at, if let's say, just I want you to assume that by the end of this war, that the Russia keeps doing what they're doing. They bomb, they destroy, whatever, and all these companies become sanctioned. They bomb, they destroy, blah blah blah. Everything happens. And then they don't change their strategy because of the sanctions, which they haven't. And then they go back to Russia. Who was hurt by the sanctions? The Russian people, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the world. Did it make a difference, though, to the war? No. So really, what did it accomplish? I mean, Putin didn't back out because of it.
No, but I think the idea of the sanctions are, you know what, halfway through this war, the Russians start to feel the bite, right? And they start to now feel the pain of having everything increase.
Let's say the Russian people don't feel it.
It happens on its own. Imagine you trying to go buy a phone and then they're telling you, yeah, you can't buy a phone. There's no phones anymore. You're trying to buy food and they tell you, yep, there's no food anymore.
We're not sitting in. I mean, this is still Russia. They have businesses. They have. They have.
Yeah, but you have to think about it like this: if majority of the businesses leave, a lot of the big businesses are the ones that are kind of handing their supplies over to the little businesses. Again, there is some that are going to strive, but what we're saying is the idea is that you're really going to take away the big supply. Now they're going to now there's a little supply and there's large demand, and that's going to make the prices skyrocket.
I really think that these sanctions are going to do nothing for the war. They're not going to
In the
impact.
long term, yes, they'll do nothing because, like you said,
but
people
look,
are going to.
Russia's not going to invade Ukraine for years. No, that's not going to. I don't think the Russians will have any intention of invading Ukraine for years at a time.
No, but
I
the
think
idea is that
short term is one.
short term it's bad for Russia. Long term, it's a good thing for Russia.
No,
Short
no,
term,
but
the idea is you pressure them into saying like what's happening now.
yeah, exactly.
The rupee's going down.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
the ruble is going down. You know, all these economic aspects are taking a big hit.
What
Eventually,
happens,
you'll have companies that kind of replace. So, like you said, instead of iPhone, you'll get a Russian phone. Instead of McDonald's, you get like a Russian burger.
Yeah. So who did that benefit though? That's my point. Jaisal says sanctions are designed to bring about regime change or overthrow from within the country. So, Jaisal, I agree with you that that's the intention. That's why the world is doing those sanctions. But my point behind all of this is if that isn't accomplished, if the Russian leadership has prepared for this in a sense that the Russian people are not going to feel much of a difference, they may not be able to rely on foreign products. Like you have, Coca-Cola, and then you have some thing, Russian brand. Yes, Coca-Cola, you sanction Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is not in Russia. But guess what happens? The Russian brand does better. So guess who's happy from Putin? The Russian company. Guess who Putin needs to be happy? Russians. He doesn't care about the international community.
Again,
So
like you said, long term, and
Russian
even
companies right now. Look, the ruble is doing bad, right? Compared to what? The dollar. So now people are having to buy Russian products. Russians in Russia are buying local. So this is benefiting the local economy. Even short term, it's benefiting the local economy. Right? If you're trying to buy an American product, iPhone or Coca-Cola, you're not going to be able to afford it because that's in dollars, right? Those companies are American companies. Well, if you want to buy the Russian brand of things, you're going to pay the same price that you were paying before, which now seems cheaper. So are you really hurting the Russian leadership?
But think about it like this: there are supplies that are needed for every
who you're
company.
hurting more than the Russian people?
Again, Russia has as much supplies as you think. Russia again has a capacity. They don't have everything. So a lot of the supplies are not a lot. I'll say a portion of their supplies are exported. Not everything is in Russia. That is there to build everything you want and to manufacture everything. There are products that they don't have enough of to build branches and brands that like. I'll give an example here. Not again, this is like theoretical example. For Coca-Cola, let's say they need a certain amount of sugar or a certain specific sugar that not everything can grow in Russia. That is exported. Now, how are you supposed to get that? You don't get it. So in the short,
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. That's when people find alternatives.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in that specific time, again, in the long term, you're right. That's again, people are gonna adapt to it, and they're gonna say, you know what, that's not that bad. We thought it was bad, but it's not that bad. And they kind of generations they forget about it. They don't even care about Coca-Cola or not. No, but in the short term, and this is why they do that. In the short term, as short term as in the next 6 months to a year. It's a struggle because a lot of these, companies are not there yet. You don't have that Russian Coca-Cola, or you don't have that, Russian phone yet. Until that comes and appears, or until.
Let me tell you something. You have somewhat of a point, but let me tell you, Russia did not enter this war in a matter of a day. They didn't say, you know what, Zelensky, we're mad now, go attack. This was a planned war, months of planning. Do you think they did not prepare, warehouses of the really necessary items, knowing that they're going to go in this war, and the entire world saying, we see you're getting close. If you go in this war, we're going to sanction you. We're going to sanction you real hard. Do you think they didn't prepare some of these essentials? So you're saying some essentials. They prepared for this. This has been months of planning for this. It's not like Russia went into it without knowing, or on a shock. This was no shocker by any means. So short term, they're prepared. Long term, they build alternatives. Both ways, the Russian people did not fear much of a difference. The thing is, who got hurt the most right now? the global community. Like these businesses that we're selling, Russia is not a small country. I mean, there's still 400
No, but listen,
million.
if we're talking about that, then even those countries are fine. When you have Europe say we have enough oil and gas for the winter and all of that, yeah, then they
Yeah,
can adapt after 6 months, right? They can
yeah,
find alternatives too.
absolutely,
But that's what
absolutely.
I'm
They
saying.
will. They will. But what does that mean? The world becomes everybody tries to become self-reliant.
Yeah,
But
so no,
these
really,
companies, Coca-Cola, they don't have as big of a client base. Now, I'm not saying Coca-Cola is going to go bankrupt. But if they were selling to, let's say 2 billion people, now they're selling to 1.6 billion people. So they are affected. I'm not talking about the country being affected, but these companies are being affected. Now, at the end of these companies were employing Russians. Now, you might say some people are going to lose their jobs, right? That's a valid point. You're going to say,
Mhm.
Coca-Cola left or iPhone left. That means 1,000 people that worked at iPhone or Coca-Cola now have no jobs. And what I will respond to that is, again, Russian companies are going to have to fill that gap. And when they fill that gap, what does that mean? They hire more people. Now, long term, again, this could be positive because now Russia, that they have hired more people, and Coca-Cola than exists already in Russia. Those companies within Russia, the local ones, become bigger, which gives them an opportunity once these sanctions are lifted. Guess to do what? Export. Then they become a bigger exporter than an importer. There is, consequences. But again, all of these, none of this applies if this war ends within the next couple of weeks. I think everything will return to normal, especially if the sanctions are lifted. And I do think the sanctions will be lifted. Perhaps small amount of sanctions may remain, but the vast majority will be lifted. And I think then we will return to some normal.
Do you think they'll and like even
Guys, if you've not clicked the like button, please do that. Jason says the Russia will enter payment default very soon, and their economy is about to collapse. Mike says they didn't expect all of this to happen to Russia. Tobacco says historically the song remains the same. Shutter says India and China for starters. Tobacco. Mr. Kalong says it's spring in Europe. Next month we'll be fine. Guys, if you've not clicked the like button, please do that. If you've not shared the stream with your friends and family, share it with your friends and family. And if you want to buy us a cup of coffee, you can do that through the super chat. We appreciate it very, very much.
do you think that at this point, now that this has happened, the Russians and the Russian government kind of don't trust any of these companies anymore, or now sense that at any point, at any time that the U.S. feels like we're doing something wrong, that sanctioned, and is that going to kind of make Russian companies kind of start up now and try and play with the market share?
No, I don't think so. So look, short term, it takes a lot to develop a company and to expand the company. It's not a matter of days, right? This is a matter of months that the Russian companies will be able to transform and change products and this is a long term thing. And I don't think Russian leadership or even Russian economy will penalize those that have stepped with the sanction. Because there's so many of them. It's like, if you have a protest, okay, and the government wants to fine anybody that goes to the protest, say, $1,000 or $10,000, or they want to jail anybody that attends this protest. You can jail them or fine them if there's 100, 1,000, 10,000. If there's 1,000,000, 2,000,000, 10,000,000, 20,000,000, you can't jail everybody. There's not enough space in jail. There's not enough money. You're going to be able to. So this is kind of the thing. I mean, Russia can't penalize the entire world other than 2 or 3 or whatever, 5 countries that have not they're not with us. So I don't think they're holding grudges against specific companies right now. I think they went in knowing that this was going to happen. And I think though the strategy was that it ends quick.
But do you think, again, we've heard that Russia has now built a list of countries that are sanctioned, and they have this list of every country that has kind of sanctioned them or has played a role in this war. What is that?
It would be a shorter list if they put countries that did not sanction them. So I really don't think it'll make any impact.
No, but do you think the idea now is to kind of get back at these countries? Yes, okay. You guys sanctioned us from here. No more oil and gas for you under any circumstance. No more wheat shipments to you.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe, just maybe, specific countries that were seen as like the heads of the sphere, maybe. I don't know, Canada, maybe United Kingdom, United
The
States,
U.S.,
maybe
yeah.
specific countries in Europe. I don't even think even the US. I don't think the United States is too big of a country for them to try and sanction or do anything to impact. But particular countries, specific countries, maybe that were really mad at them. But I think the vast majority of the world,
No, but
no.
again, the U.S. Again, I think we've seen the list, and the U.S. They listed basically any country that sanctioned them,
Yeah, well, look, they can put on a list all they want. Maybe they're doing that to
kind of like a scare
scare the
tactic.
world. Yeah, but I think once things go back to normal, it may be at one or two or three countries that they felt would have been like, these stepped over the line of what we think is acceptable. But I don't think it'll be like every single country or a huge list. All right, guys, I'll leave you to discuss what's going on. I'm going to step away for a bit and talk to you guys later. Getting a live images from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. Take care. Bye.
Sounds good. All right, take care. Yeah, guys. So again, we are speaking to you guys exactly what's going on in the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, and that live. Now, I do ask that you guys hit the like button and you guys share this to your friends and family. And if you want to top everything up, it would just be greatly appreciated. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, the super chat is an option, or you can join to become a part of this member, and basically you get a nice juicy icon next to your name if you are a member of this channel. Now, of course, again, there are some breaking news, unconfirmed reports that President Zelensky may be stepping down his position as the president of Ukraine. In exchange for what, you may ask? Why is he stepping down? Well, that would be in exchange for a peace deal negotiated between Ukraine and Russia that kind of says that if President Zelensky steps down of his presidential position, Russian forces will kind of take over, but they will stop the shelling and stop the attacks on all Ukrainian cities. So there could possibly be some type of truce peace process negotiation where we see President Zelensky step down his position as president, kind of hand it over to the Russians, and the Russians end the war like that. So we are closely checking that out. Cheddar says good night, all good night. Tobacco always says they live well. To know, Tobacco's Rowan says, to know what Russians' life is like, watch some Russian vloggers on YouTube. Again, the idea here is that, and if anybody would like to kind of join in the discussion as well, but every single time we go live, we offer to you guys discussions, debates, and all of that. So if you want to participate in those, make sure you guys do join the Discord using the link below. And again, we're always open to go ahead and chat. And of course, as long as it's respectful, we'd be more than happy to bring you on live and you can kind of see your point as well here. But again, we're currently live, day 14 of this major war and major attack on Ukrainian forces by Russians. Of course, the humanitarian corridor has recently opened up for Ukrainians as they now leave a lot of the major cities that have been recently attacked heavily in the last few days. We've also seen Metropole, a port city that is heavily attacked by Russian troops. Now a hospital has been hit earlier in the day. A hospital has been hit and has collapsed pretty much after a direct hit by Russian forces. Now, of course, Metropole has been sieged for the last few days now, both by land, sea, and air. And a lot of people are really struggling to, locate some fresh, clean water. Their whole system is shut down. There's no more filtrations and no water in any part of the city, no electricity in any part of the city. And a lot of people are now forced to drink contaminated water due to this siege, causing over 1,500 deaths in the Metropole area. Tobacco says, wheat does not grow in Canada. It grows here in Kansas. Saskatchewan, Canada, says Mike. But again, guys, this is live, featuring to you guys all the latest news as it happens on the News Geek channel. So I'm thinking I might call it a day. Let me know. Do you guys want me to keep the stream going? And that way you guys can see what's going on. Or do you want me to just shut the stream? And again, we'll most likely be back talking, discussing, and debating, sometime later. But let me know what you guys think. Let's get some thoughts here in here, of course. But again, you guys are watching live as the latest news shines. And as we basically hear more about, there's a lot of discussions and debates really going on. Because of what's going on right now in the capital of Ukraine, things are really taking a more serious turn. And again, in a little bit, you'll see a breaking news kind of thing. And we keep this up again to show everybody exactly what's going on as it happens. So real quickly, let me pull this up. All right, and I'll go ahead and do. All right, so as you guys can see, this is the breaking news as it happens. You guys will be able to see everything. Vax says if we last in the summer, we're going to see a huge mess for sure. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a huge mess.
Alo. 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 Ses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, pazartesi, salı, çarşamba, perşembe, cuma. Fil 1, fil 2, fil. Tamam. evet, başkent Kiev'den selamlar yeniden. Artık Rusya başkent Kiev'i kuşatma altına almaya hazırlanıyor. Yavaş yavaş kuşatma altına almış da diyebiliriz. Özellikle kuzeyden ve batıdan ilerleyen Rus birlikleri başkent Kiev'e doğru ilerliyorlar ama dünden itibaren aslında başkent Kiev'de de hem Rus tarafında hem Ukrayna ordusu tarafında gözler Antalya'da yapılacak o görüşmede, müzakere görüşmelerinde Dışişleri Bakanları'nın bir araya gelmesi, buradaki havayı da biraz yumuşatmış gibi yumuşatmışlar gerekiyor. Zira bu noktada biraz daha saldırıların şiddetli, saldırıların dozu azalmış durumda. Önceden daha büyük günlerde daha şiddetli bombardımanlar, daha şiddetli saldırılar gerçekleştirilirken biraz daha şimdi gözler bakanlardan gelecek yapılacak açıklamalarda ve olumlu gelişmelere çevrilmiş durumda. Vatandaşın en azından gözü kulağı orada olacak gibi duruyor şu an itibariyle. Genel olarak durumun başkent Kiev'de biraz daha sakin olduğunu ifade edebilirim. Önceki günlere nazaran bugün savaşın artık 15. gününe girmiş bulunuyoruz ve 15 gündür yaklaşık 2 haftadır devam eden bir savaş söz konusu. Siviller hayatını kaybediyor, çocuklar hayatını kaybediyor, hastaneler bombalanıyor, sivil yerleşim yerleri hedef alınıyor, tahliye güzergahları, sivillerin kaçış rotaları saldırıların hedefi haline geliyor ve tabii tüm bunlar tüm dünyanın gözü önünde yaşanıyor ama şu an itibariyle henüz savaşın bitmesine, bitmiş olmasına dair emareler, izler yok. Bunu da söylemeliyim. Tabii yapılacak görüşme oldukça önemli. Yapılacak görüşmenin sonrasında nasıl bir karar çıkacak, en azından sahaya yansımaları nasıl olacak, biz de Hilmi Yaşar'la birlikte bu noktada takip edeceğiz ama durumun en azından dünden itibaren biraz daha sakin olduğunu ifade edebiliriz. Yalnızca Irpin ve Buça bölgelerinde zaman zaman patlama seslerinin yaşandığını ifade edelim. Son olarak şunu da söyleyelim. Sadece Kiev özelinde düşünmemek gerekiyor. Özellikle Mariupol, Kharkiv ve farklı bölgelerde Ukrayna'nın çeşitli noktalarda Rusya'nın saldırıları devam ediyor Kaan. Selamlar, günaydın başkentten Azerbaycan'a, Can Azerbaycan'a selamlar. Evet, aslında biraz gözler Antalya'daki o diplomasi forumuna çevrilmiş durumda. Hem Dışişleri Bakanı Lavrov, hem Ukrayna Dışişleri Bakanı Kuleva, aynı zamanda Türk Dışişleri Bakanı Maidan Square'un ara buluculuğunda gerçekleşecek olan bu müzakere durumuna ya da bu görüşmeye çevrilmiş durumda biraz daha durumun sakin olduğunu ifade edebiliriz. Şöyle hemen aslında meydana gösterilmişler. Burası bağımsızlık meydanı, görüyorsunuz. Ukrayna'nın en güzel meydanlarından biri. Buralar zaman zaman silah sesleri, zaman zaman patlama sesleri duyulabiliyor ama şu an itibariyle biraz daha buranın sakin olduğunu söyleyebiliriz. Ama aslında buradaki burada yani sahadaki gelişmeler biraz Antalya'dan gelecek sonuçlara, Antalya'daki o görüşmelere göre neticelenecekmiş gibi duruyor. Şu an itibariyle durumun dün akşamdan itibaren biraz daha sakin olduğunu ifade edebiliriz. Tabii özellikle patlamalar ya da saldırılar nerelerde yaşanıyor? Kiev'in kuzey bölgelerinde gerçekleşiyor bu saldırılar, bu patlamalar ama genel olarak durumda biraz sakinlik, biraz sükunet sağlanmış durumda. Bugün savaşın 15. günü, tabii sükunet sağlanmış durumda ama sivil direnişçiler halen daha barikat kurmaya, mevzi oluşturmaya, siper almaya da devam ediyor. Bir taraftan da o çalışmaların yürütüldüğünü ifade etmeliyim. Genel olarak durumun biraz daha sakin olacak gibi geçiyor. Yani bu görüşmeye kadar biraz daha durumun sakin olabileceğini söyleyelim. Yani görüşmeden çıkacak sonuca göre de durumun sahaya yansımaları olacaktır. Gıdalar artık yeniden sağlamaya başladı. Yani gıda temini, o zincir yeniden oluşturuldu. Marketlerde ürünleri bulmak artık daha kolay hale geldi. Yani geçen haftaya göre biraz daha nispeten durum iyileşti. Vatandaşlar daha sık, daha hızlı bir şekilde marketlerden istedikleri ürünleri alabiliyorlar ama tabii yine ekmek ve unu mamuller anlamında zaman zaman sıkıntının yaşanabileceğini de ifade edeyim ama genel olarak artık o ilk başlardaki savaşın en başlarında yaşanan sorunları büyük ölçüde ortadan kalkmış durumda şu an itibariyle.